welcome to Saturday Talk. Today we have Nobu Kishigami from Japan. He's going to be speaking about his experience with looking into the whaling culture here in Barrow, Alaska. Thank you, Nobu.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Nobuhiro Kishigami from Japan. Can you hear me? I'm a cultural anthropologist working at the National Museum of Ethnology, Osaka, Japan. And for the last 5 or 6 years, I have been doing research about whaling and distribution of whale meat among the whalers. And today I'm going to give you my kind of a final research report to the public. One distinctive characteristic of hunting and gathering societies is the practice of food sharing. Also, all societies such as Inupiat, Sam Bushmen, and Ainu have undergone drastic social changes for the last 100 years. Many of them still maintain their sharing practices despite changes in frequency and forms. Why and how do they share food? What is the social and cultural importance of food sharing? These questions are important research topics to be explored in anthropology. I began this research project of bowhead whale hunt and sharing distribution of whales in Barrow, Alaska in 2006. Meat and maktak. Maktak is a skin parts with blubber of harvest whales are shared, while Inupiat several times after the butchering and first formal sharing of a whale. The aim of this presentation is to show the contemporary sharing and distribution of bowhead whales, and to consider the features and functions of these practices among the Inupiat in Barrow, Alaska. The contemporary whaling of Alaskan indigenous people is recognized as aboriginal subsistence whaling. The Inupiat in 9 villages. Can you see the map? This is Barrow, and these are the whaling communities in Alaska. There are 11 villages. The Inupiat in 9 villages, such as Kaktovik, Nuiqsut, Barrow, Point Lake, Wainwright, Point Hope, Kivalina, Wales, and Little Diomede, and Inupiat in 2 villages, such as Savonga and Gambill, hunted whales. The IWC 5-year quota allowed them to hunt up to 250 whales for the last 5 years. For the 5 years, this is from 2008 to 2012. So it finished last year. As the 15 of 280 whales were transferred to indigenous groups of Russia, the Inupiat and Inupiat might generally catch up to 53 whales per year. Bowhead whales migrate offshore near Barrow in spring and fall. Thus, Inupiat hunt them from late April to late May, and from the end of September to late October. And adult bowhead whales grew up to 60 feet in length and up to about 176,400 pounds, about 80 tons. However, the Inupiat hunters in Barrow prefer to hunt a young whale of about 33 feet in length. A whale of this size will produce about 4,850 pounds of edible meat and about 3,300 pounds of maktak for the community. Okay, this is a spring hunt. Like at the Ice Age, the people looking for whale. And this is a bowhead whale. If you spend a week on the Ice Age, you can see many whales. And sometimes you see a very far, but sometimes just within a few meters. Suddenly the whale came up. And once you find it, and the captain decides to catch, they approach to the whale, this umiak, very quickly and very quietly. And once you get the whale, so you have to put it out on the sea ice, and start to butcher the whale. And it takes sometimes at least 5 hours, sometimes more than 10 hours. And this is like a share. I'm going to talk about this. These parts goes to the whaling crews who help towing and butchering. And after butchering, people keep their meat in ice cellar in the city, in town. And after finishing the process, they bring their umiak on the sea ice near community. This is their preparation for a Pugauti feast. I'm going to show later. There are about 45 whaling crews, each of which consists of one whaling captain and 5 to 15 crew members. They are allowed to harvest 22 whales per year or 110 for 5 years under the contemporary quota system in Barrow. And this is a result of a catch, like a spring hunt and fall hunt from since 2005. And last 5 years, 208, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 208 and 2012. This period, people here can take about up to 110 whales a year for 5 years, or 22 whales to each year. And in average for the last 5 years, just less than 22 whales for this community. Inupiat whalers butcher and share a hunted whale soon after the hunt, according to the sharing rules. The butchering and shelling are highly different among several whaling crews in Barrow and very different among whaling crews from different villages. In this presentation, I discuss the most common practice of distribution of a whale in Barrow, according to Figure 1 provided by North Road Barrow School District. Tapusi, this part. Tapusi part. A meat and maktak, about 1 feet in width, are divided into 2 parts. Half goes to successful crew. This half is divided as a personal share among the crew under the supervision of the whaling captain. Another half is cooked and served to the public at the captain's house the next day after the successful hunt. I will show you later the pictures later. Oti part. This is Oti part. This is kept in the successful captain's ice cellar and is served at the feast such as Narkatak, Christmas and Thanksgiving. Itiguluk. This part is kept in the successful captain's ice cellar and given to visitors at Narkatak. And the tail part. This part is kept in successful captain's ice cellar and served at the feast such as Narkatak, Christmas and Thanksgiving. And we call like a umiat ningat or ningi, this part. That's a huge part of the whale. All whaling crews who butcher the whale equally share this part. Berlin, this part. Half goes to all the crews who help in the towing. The rest goes to the successful crew. A sakik, this part, ting part. This part half goes to, one side goes to successful whaling captain, and another side is divided among the crews who assisted in towing the whale. And flippers, there are 2 flippers. One side goes to the harpooner and another side is used as tacoon by all whaling crews on the butchering side. And tongue. Half of tongue is divided among all the crews on the butchering side. Approximately 1/4 is served at a successful captain's feast and the remainder at Narkatak. Heart, intestine, kidney. Half of each part is served at the successful captain's feast. The remainder is served at Narkatak. When the butchering process is completed, the successful captain makes a go-ahead sign for anyone to cut and take from portions left around bones for that purpose. This practice is called piraniak. This distribution system shows that successful crew does not exclusively own most parts of the whale. According to Blubber Jr. and Heppa, 60% of whale parts goes to Ningek use, 10% to Tapsi use, and 30% OT use. The sharing rule results in majority of the parts, let's say about 90% of the whale, being provided to other whaling crews who help in the towing and butchering, and to the whole communities. In other words, only if you catch one whale, maybe 10% of them, you and your crew can use it. But another 90% goes to other crews who towing or butchering, or community feast. So this is a very interesting feature of this sharing system. After the formal sharing on the butchering site, whale meat, maktak, and other parts are further distributed to the whole community through the successful captain's feast, feast of Apugauti, Nalkatak, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, and daily sharing and exchange practices. This is a captain's feast after the hunt. So soon after, maybe next day or same day, soon after the hunt, some parts of the meat bring to the community, to the captain's house, and his wife and crew's wife, members' wives come together and prepare for the feast. This is a maktak, and this meat. And outside the house, they boil the meat and maktak other parts, and then they prepare, like making out like a one package. Every kind of meat and bread and other things put into one plastic bags. The next day after the hunting and butchering a whale, a feast is held at for the whole community at the successful captain's house. This feast is called Nipugaiki. Half of the whale meat and maktak over the tapsi part, 1/4 of the tongue, half of the heart, intestine, and kidney are cooked and provided to the community. The successful whaling captain's crew flag is installed on the roof of his house. All the crew members and their wives come together at the captain's house to prepare for the feast. They cut and boil the meat, maktak, and other parts. Then the cooked parts are divided into two parts, one for the feast, another for gift or giving. For the gift, they place each portion of meat, maktak, tongue, heart, intestine, and kidney, and a piece of bread or Eskimo donut into small plastic bags. Also, they prepare boiled fruit, coffee, and tea. When the feast is ready, the captain, after playing to God, announces the opening via Citizens Band Radio, CB radio. Villagers visit the captain's house by twos and threes. The wives of captain and his crew members present a few bags to each visitor, according to the number in the visitor's household. On the other hand, relatives of the captain and elders enjoy the whale dishes at the captain's house and receive a few bags as a gift after the feast. Also, the captain and his crew members deliver these bags by car to elders and widows unable to visit the feast place. When the host have given all the food bags out to the visitors, the captain announces by radio the end of the feast and removes his crew flags from the roof. Through this feast, many residents, especially elders, widows, and persons in need, can obtain some culturally highly valued food. After the end of spring whaling season, Apugauti and Nalkatak are held by successful whaling captains in Barrow. When each successful whaling captain lands his umiak at the end of his whaling season, he and his crew will host and carry out Apugauti feast as a small-scale community feast independently from mid-May to early June. On the other hand, one crew, a few crews, or several crews together will host and carry out Nalkataks as a community-wide whaling festival consisting of feast, blanket toss, and drum dance from June to the end of June, late June to the end of June. These events accompany the community feast. Okay, this is Apugauti. You saw, the umiak was put on the sea ice near the communities, and on the day of the Apugauti, this is a Yugo cross Apugauti, they brought the umiak to the feast place. Then crew members and their families make a circle and play for the god, and then they start feast. And like this is daughter of the Johnny Levitt is serving like making a fermented whale meat to the visitors. Before the 1980s, whaling captains did not hold apagouti for the whole community but for their own crews. However, each successful whaling captain and crew began to host it for the community. The main dishes of this feast are mikigak, fermented meat, blubber, blood of the whale, duck soup and goose soup. Also pieces of bread or Eskimo donuts, fruits, coffee and tea are provided to participants. In one occasion of apagouti held in June 2009, one whaling crew provided 14 buckets of mikigak, that is 17 gallons of mikigak, 20 pots of goose soup, 20 pots of duck soup, 2,000 pieces of bread, 2,000 pieces of Eskimo donuts, 10 buckets of stewed fruits, that is about 50 gallons, and 40 gallons of tea and 10 gallons of coffee for the whole community. This apagouti is rather a large one. Usually each whaling captain decides the scale of the apagouti and quantity of dishes. While about 100 people participate in a small apagouti, more than 400 people participate in a large one. Each participant can enjoy only 1 or 2 meals at apagouti. When the food is gone, it is finished. Narukatak. This is the beginning of Narukatak, this last year. And again, there are 3 meals are provided during this festival. And this is the person is delivering mikigak. And after the 3 feasts, they have a blanket toss. And after blanket toss, they enjoy drum dances in their high school gym or something. In an ordinary year, 2 to 4 Narukataks are held in Barrow from mid-June to the end of June. It is a whole-day festival with a few feasts, actually 3 feasts. On June 30, 208, 2 whaling captains held Narukatak together. At noon, their crews provided goose soup, duck soup, bread, tea and coffee for the people of the community. At 3 o'clock, mikigak was given to them and frozen whale meat, frozen maktak, cakes, fruit, tea and coffee were served at 6 o'clock. Each captains provide 1/3 of arti and akigak, whole igluk, half of heart, intestine and kidney, and 1/4 of tongue to the feast of Narukatak. In each Narukatak, more than 2,000 people in total participate. Each of them receives 1 meal at noon, 3 o'clock, and 6 o'clock. In this festival, a blanket toss and traditional Inupiat dances are carried out by host captain, crews, and several other participants after the feast. The next slide is Thanksgivings. The 4th Thursday of November. On the Thanksgiving Day, they have a community feast again at the church. And after the feast, one family or one person can get this box, and this all meat and maktak. So he has some portion, and each family can take the remainder of food back to the home. So it's a quite amount of the meat and maktak. On Thanksgiving Day in November and December, and Christmas in December, several churches in Barrow host feast. The successful captains donate about 1/3 of arti and akigak to 4 churches on each occasion. While there are about 10 churches of different sects in Barrow, each successful captain provides meat and maktak to these 4 churches, attended by many Inupiat people, such as Presbyterian Church, Assembly of God Church, Cornerstone Community Church, and New Beginnings Church in the town. Every 2 years, a messenger feast is held in Barrow, revived in 1988 after a break of some 70 years. Many people from outside the community are invited to the feast. So whaling captains and their crews provide food including whale meat and maktak for the feast. Actually, we are going to have in the next week 4 or 5 days feast and drum dances. Several kinds of feasts are held in Barrow about 20 times or more a year. In each occasion, whale dishes are provided to whole community by successful whaling captains and crews. Once whale meat and maktak are shared among the captain and his crew members under the supervision of the captain also will give some meat and maktak as a share from tapusi parts to several people who provided the gas, food, cash, or equipment for the whale hunt. The meat and maktak are further shared or given to other peoples such as their parents, uncles, aunts, siblings, elders, widows, and persons in economic need. Also, whaling captains will provide some meat and maktak to families whose members pass away and which host funeral services. Siblings, cousins, children, nephews, nieces, friends of the Inupiat in Barrow live in other villages, towns, and cities in the USA. The Inupiat in Barrow communicate with them by phone, Facebook, and/or email. If their relatives or friends tell Barrow people they hope to receive whale products, the Barrow people send some meat and maktak to these distant persons. For example, following his successful hunt in 2011, one whaling captain sent by air cargo 30 pounds of meat, maktak, and tail parts to his wife's aunt in Inupiat, 25 pounds to the Alaska Children's Service in Anchorage, 25 pounds to his cousin in Anchorage, and 30 pounds to another cousin in Fairbanks. From my research, it is seen that Barrow people sent whale meat and maktak by air cargo or by post to people in Nuiqsut, Atuqsut, Point Lay, Point Hope, Nome, Anaktogupukas, Kotzebue, Norwich, Fairbanks, Anchorage, Montana State, Washington State, Arizona State, California State, Hawaii State, etc. On the other hand, their family, relatives, and friends in neighboring communities sent smelt or meat, maktak, or beluga whale to them. At the village level, Barrow sends whale meat and maktak to other communities at their request. In November 2011, each of 11 successful whaling captains brought 3 boxes of meat and 3 boxes of maktak to Northrop Borough Mayor's office at the request of communities such as Anaktogupuq Pass, Atuqsut, and Point Hope. Each box weighed about 30 pounds. The mayor's office delivers about 330 pounds each of meat and maktak to each of the communities for the Christmas feast. Barrow people also exchange local products in other communities with whom they meet at various indigenous meetings. For example, while one Inupiat man in Barrow sent about 45 pounds of whale meat and maktak to Yupik man, the Yupik man sent a dried salmon to the former. In this way, Barrow people often share and exchange local products with people in other places or with other Aboriginal people. The Inupiat do not sell any edible parts of the whales, but only share or distribute them through rule-governed and voluntary sharing system in Barrow. The Inupiat people do not aim to make a monetary profit from their whaling activities. Rather, they use their own cash income to run their whaling activities. There is one exception to the sale of the whale products. Baleen can be sold about $35 per 1 feet in Barrow. However, many captains and hunters often simply give baleen parts to their family members, relatives, or friends who make artistic pieces from the baleen. Arts and crafts made of baleen or whale bones are sold to tourists. The Inupiat whalers in Barrow prefer to catch whales averaging 33 feet in length. This is because these smaller whales are much safer to catch and easier to catch than larger ones. And the Inupiat claim that the younger whales also taste better. In this section, I examined the shelling of whale parts according to the weights using the existing data. Dr. Craig George here, and others report weights of the parts of a whale mate of 36 feet in length and weighing 32,630 pounds. So this shows maybe like a 36 feet whale. Okay, tongue is 1,970 pounds, and muscles 5,350 But you can't eat all, but certainly a large amount of them are edible. And maktak part is like they have huge blubber. It's 14,550 pounds. This is 40% of the weight of the whole whale. But probably maktak part is maybe 1/5 or less. But we can know the weight of that. So please, each name each part. Also ratios of Inupiat, Ningnat, Tapasi, and Arti are roughly 60%, 10%, and 30%. In this presentation, I assume that the edible parts of skin and blubber are 20% and for spring hand to catch. Inupiat, Ningat, for all the crews and people who participate in butchering a whale can be in total about 3,180 pounds of meat and about 1,750 pounds of maktak. For example, in the case of butchering and shelling of a whale on May 5, 2010, 15 whaling crews. Each 15 crews sent maybe 2 persons to the butchering site and 4 independent helpers from the village, regarded as one group for the share, participated in the butchering process. Thus, meat and maktak were divided into 16 shares. As a result, each whaling crew got 1 share, including about 200 pounds of meat and about 110 pounds of maktak. The meat and maktak were redistributed among the captain and his crew members under each captain's supervision later. Tabisi, for the captain's feast and successful whaling captains weigh about 530 pounds of meat and 290 pounds of maktak in total. Half are cooked and provided for the captain's feast for a whole community, with cooked dishes including about 490 pounds of tongue, 110 pounds of kidney, 108 pounds of heart, and 250 pounds of intestines. OT part, OT for community feasts such as Nalkatak, Thanksgiving, and Christmas provide about 1,600 pounds of meat, about 870 pounds of maktak. Also, each captain decides how much meat and maktak to provide for each feast. He usually provides 50%, 25%, and 25% respectively on each of these occasions. About 800 pounds of meat and about 440 pounds of maktak are given to the Nalkatak feast, while about 400 pounds of meat and about 440 pounds of maktak are provided to each of Thanksgiving and Christmas feast. In the case of Nalkatak, a whaling captain provides about 490 pounds of tongue, about 110 pounds of kidney, about 105 pounds of heart, and 250 pounds of intestine to the feast. If 20 whales averaging 36 in length are landed per year, the whole community can consume at 20 feasts per year about 37,000 pounds of meat, that is about 17 tons of meat, and 20,000 pounds of maktak. This is about 9.2 tons of maktak in total. In this way, most parts of a whale are given to other whaling crews and to the community feast, rather than successful crew in Barrow. The successful whaling crew can get about 460 pounds of meat and about 260 pounds of maktak. Those are redistributed among the captain, his crew members, and helpers under the supervision of the captain. In the hunt of May 4th, 2010, 8 persons shared them equally, including 1 captain, 4 crew members, 2 persons who provided the gas for the crew, 1 person who lent his darting gun to the captain. In this case, there is no difference between captain and his crew members in terms of a quantity of a share. Each person received about 60 pounds of meat and 30 pounds of maktak. Also, a successful harpooner was given an additional share, that is flipper, about 390 pounds. As this sharing shows, Each of the successful whaling captains and crew members do not receive a lot of meat and maktak from their own their successful hunt. However, if the crew sent a few of its members to help other successful crews to butcher their whales, the crew can obtain 200 pounds of meat and about 110 pounds of maktak each time. If a crew helps the other 10 successful whaling crews, the crew can receive about 2,000 pounds of meat and about 1,100 pounds of maktak. If they are divided equally among 8 persons, each person can acquire about 250 pounds of meat and about 140 pounds of maktak. Thus, each obtains about 310 pounds of meat and 170 pounds of maktak in total per year. Each person can consume this meat in his household or freely give the meat to other persons. Meat and maktak, except baleen, are not sold but shared and exchanged by the Inupiat in Barrow. The first shelling soon after the butchering of a whale, and secondary shelling through several community feasts, such as successful whaling captain's feast, Apagauti, Narkatak, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Messenger feast, a kind of rule-governed shelling or sharing by rule. Also, there are voluntary shelling, gift giving and exchange by whaling captains and hunters. Here I discuss the characteristics, reasons, and functions of shelling and gifting by the Inupiat. First, there are two kinds of shelling systems of whale meat and other edible parts: sharing by rule and voluntarily sharing. The former shelling includes that of formal shelling soon after butchering of a whale, and that through several community feasts. In this case, how to and how much to share the parts of the whale is defined to a considerable degree by rules. On the other hand, voluntary shelling is carried out according to individual decisions and discretions of daily life. Second, the two kinds of shelling systems promote distribution of whale meat and maktak into all of the household in the whole community. Specifically, while the rule-governed shelling soon after the butchering of a whale permits a particular successful captain and his crew members to get a certain amount of meat and maktak, that I will say 5 to 10%. It gives most 90 to 95% of the whale products to other whaling crews who help with the towing and butchering, and to the community-wide feast. Then, a voluntary shelling allows the whale products to be distributed to many Inupiat in and out of Barrow. Next, I will discuss the rule-governed shelling system. All the whaling crew can kill a bowhead whale. It may have a lot of difficulties in towing, pulling out on the ice, and butchering by one crew. Two or more whaling crews always have to participate in the butchering process. Taking these matters into account, I would argue that a reason to share whale by rule ensures that co-workers, providers of tools, can always get a certain portion of the whale products. Furthermore, the sharing by rule soon after the butchering of the whale prevents a successful crew from exclusively owning it, and contribute to making sure that other whaling crews, helpers, and the whole community can get shares from the successful whale hunt. Thus, I argue that the formal sharing by rule is a device by which whale products are to be distributed to benefit the whole community. The whaling captain and his crew members do not earn a lot of material benefits from their successful hunt. Why do they continue hunting and shelling whales? I consider that the reason comes from the multi-dimensional functions and effects of shelling practices. First, the formal shelling of a whale by rule soon after butchering provides culturally high-valued food such as whale meat and maktak to a whale community through several community feasts. Whaling captain and hunters stress that they carry out whale hunts in order to feed the whole community. As I pointed out, 90 to 95% of the edible parts of a whale are given to other whaling crews who help the successful crew for towing and butchering of a whale, or a community feast. Thus, successful whale hunts and shelling of the whales bring meat and maktak not only to whaling crews through the formal shelling by the rule, but also to community at large through several community feasts hosted by successful whaling captains. Second, participation in whale hunts and community feasts provide occasions for the Inupiat to reconfirm their ethnic and community identities. The Inupiat participants can gain a we feeling through hunting, shelling, and eating well together. Third, two kinds of shelling systems are observed for particular social relationships of the Inupiat. Through the shelling practices, social relationship between whale and Inupiat, these are symbolic relationships, social relationship between whaling crews and whole community, those within and between extended families, those between household, those within each whaling crew, etc., will be maintained or reproduced. The voluntary shelling practices reconfirm and maintain familiar relationships, kin relationships, and friend relationships. Fourth, a series of practices of two kinds of shelling systems result in leveling the amount of consumption and position of whale products among household, extended families, or whaling crews within the community. Fifth, as the voluntary shelling practices have a social security function since they help widows, elders, disabled persons in economic need, the practices contribute to community well-being. Sixth, as sharing practices of two kinds are based on a worldview of reciprocal or cyclical relationships among whales and the Inupiat. The worldview is reproduced through these practices. According to Inupiat worldview, the whale gives itself to the Inupiat whalers, and thus they should treat it respectfully and share it with other Inupiat people. If it is satisfied with the whalers' attitudes and treatments toward it, the whales will come back to them to be harvested again. In order for this reciprocal flow between a whale and whalers, Inupiat whalers should share their whale products with other Inupiat people. Seventh, both shelling by rule and voluntary shelling have the social effect of bestowing a good reputation upon the successful whaling captains and hunters. A whaling captain, his wife, and his crew members who successfully catch whales and host community feasts, as well as helping other Inupiat through voluntary shelling, can obtain social fame and are regarded as a real or respectful Inupiat person by other Inupiat people. Thus, I argue that the Inupiat continue whaling and shelling their products because these multidimensional functions and effects of shelling contribute to both community well-being and satisfying the whalers culturally and socially. These are two kinds of shelling systems, a formal shelling by rule and voluntary shelling among Inupiat whalers. Both of the shelling practices are devices by which the culturally high-valued food, such as whale meat and maktak, are to be distributed to the whole community. Furthermore, these shelling practices have multidimensional functions and effects, including the efficient distribution of culturally valued food to a whole community, the contribution to community well-being, and labeling the amount of consumption and the possession of whale products within the community. In addition, these practices reproduce worldview, individuals' identities at several levels, and the social relationships of the Inupiat. Also, whaling captains and their crew members can earn social standing through these practices. Finally, I argue that hunting and shelling of a whale is for the whole Inupiat community, the means to seek and share the culturally highly valued products of the whales. Thus, whaling and shelling of the products themselves to be their aims, while the results contribute to community well-being and their continued social and cultural identity. I thank you, the following people, for help and moral support to my research for the last 5 years. Dr. Glenn Sehan of BASC and BASC members, Eugene Brower, Harry Brower Jr., Herman Aswak, Johnny Levitt of Barrow Whaling Captains Association, and Craig George and other people of NSB Department of Wildlife Management. Thank you very much for your attention.